I feel like they're being left behind with technology. And I want to see how we can help them earn money in the booming technology market.
On today's episode of Rise, Grind, and Repeat, we talked to Diana from Clyn. We reconnected and discussed how she taught herself coding in order to pull her business out from rock bottom. Let's dive right in. Diana, thank you so much for joining on another episode of Rise, Grind, and Repeat. Second time guest, and I'm pumped because you've done so much since we first talked, and even in the last month, you've had so much happen personally and with the business. But I'd love to kind of hear what's happened in the last 2 years. I know you've had some ups, some downs. Would love to hear the ups, obviously, but also love to hear kind of the downs, what you've learned from it. But
we were working with a contractor for the app. I think right after the last time that we spoke or we met for the podcast, I think. And it didn't work out very well. So it led me to be completely broke. And then the world shut down with a pandemic. And I was like, okay, I think this is the signal that I need to just sit down and learn how to code. And so through the pandemic, I learned I just said, I'm going to pick something that's associated with the application that's important, like critically important, and learn about it. So I picked up JavaScript, and then I picked up Xamarin, and I built the first app. It wasn't really like a full app. It was something clunky, but it worked.
And you did it.
And I did it. I did it. And so I understood what it takes to get to where I was and further. And it also helped me understand what kind of developers I needed. Because when I was talking to these contractors, I'm just like, okay, I trust you to do it, but I don't know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. And there was always something that's coming up. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. So now I have an in-house team of developers. We've built 5 apps so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So
since September,
even kind of taking a step back, would love to. So what it's because when we last connected, you had just met the developer. I remember you were so pumped and
yes,
we're about to go into development and all that. And so without getting too into the details, what happened?
Corn artists, they got me. But I mean, I think there's some people who just. It's like, let me say it this way. It's like math, right? Everyone knows some kind of math, but everyone has a level of how much knowledge they know. If you say 1 + 1 is 2, duh.
You know math.
Yeah, you know math.
Yeah.
If I say 4 + 4 is 8, okay, that's another level. You know math. But if I bring an equation from numerical analysis and say, I want you to figure out how fast COVID is going to spread in this specific area in Tempe, then you'll be like, I
you don't know that math.
Yeah, I don't know. What is this squiggly thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that same level, there are people who are doing well, and there are people who are not doing well in that level. They think they know that what they're doing, but they don't. So I ended up working with someone who has got to that level, but they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So everything that they're saying makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, they seem to know what they're doing, but they don't know how to calculate it. They just know the quick words and the big words to wow you, and that's really what happened.
So it sounds like from a high level, we can, in your app, which basically connects people with, cleaners, essentially.
Yeah.
And so really it was, this is the vision.
Yes.
And it was, I can do that. We can do this. Let me throw in some buzzwords.
Yeah.
And then, sweet, let's get going.
Right.
Once you guys started going and it was looking at mock-ups, looking at it, just wasn't connecting.
Man, after the prototype, we were just being dragged along. We were being dragged along. What's going on? They're not picking up their phone. A lot of gaslighting. It was like, why is this happening? This is the 4th time in a row. So I was just like, no, I've had it. Yeah.
What did that do to you mentally? Because you've worked so hard on the app. I mean, even whenever we were talking about it, you're so passionate. You put blood, sweat, and tears. I mean,
Yeah.
you've connected with people around the world. People, whenever you're making the videos and stuff, I mean, people just saw what you were doing and donated their time and all that. So you're putting all this into building the app. And as you mentioned, this is the 4th developer now that you haven't been able to get it going.
Yeah.
At some point, most people would say, you know what? That's a sign that this isn't for me.
This is not working.
But what was your mind frame like going through that and then making the decision, you know what? I'm going to stop trusting other people. I'm going to figure it out myself.
You know where I come from? I came here with nothing.
Yep.
And when I dropped out of college, it was like, I don't have the papers to just walk into any institution and say, here's my engineering degree, hire me. I can do the job. No one's going to say, a doctor walks in without their degree, you're going to be like,
I don't know if I want you to do surgery on me.
Even though you were in school all through until the very last semester. I don't know. So I had to figure something out. And it was like, maybe just that grit of this has to work because I have nowhere else to go. Nothing else that's I can say here to my family and say, okay, this is something that I've built that would help you and sustain you. Plus, a lot of people who are believing in me, I'm not just going to call them and say, Dustin, it didn't work out. Yeah. So I got this job and I'm going to continue living my life. It didn't sound right for me to do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love what you're saying because it's, whenever you were trying to find a developer, I didn't really know what they were saying. You're kind of leaning on them to know what it is they're doing. And really where I'm going with this is sometimes we'll talk to business owners. We hired you to do the marketing, but there is a level of, you have to understand a little bit of marketing so that we can have a conversation.
Yes.
Have you seen now that you've learned it, that now you're more mindful of what questions to ask?
Yes.
It's not just, all right, well, I hired you to do it, go do it. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a great point because it's like every developer has their strengths, and if you don't ask them what those strengths are, they're very open with it.
Yeah.
If they're not open and honest with it, you will see it if you know what you're supposed to be looking at. So that's a great analogy.
Yeah. Because I think just a lot of people get stuck in the pitfalls of, oh, I've hired them, they're gonna do it, and then there's the frustration when it isn't what their vision was, but it's like.
Right.
Didn't know how to communicate it. And so, I mean, what I see more times than not is that there isn't the level of educating myself so that I can have a better conversation. After going through this process, do you take a little bit of time learning and all that before you start trying to hire for the job? That way you can know what questions to ask, what pitfalls to be mindful of.
Yep. And even after you hire, you still have to ask questions. You still have to keep learning. You just don't, hire and then say, okay, go ahead, You got to be like, okay, so they said something, I didn't get it. I need to learn about that.
Yep.
So you're always on the same page because the person in marketing is a lot more experienced than you are. So they may say something that's totally basic for them. They say it every day. But for myself or other people that are coming to the marketer, they may not know exactly what it is. And they're just, Facebook ads. Yeah, that's what I want. Yep.
Yeah. and what happens is, that's what I want. Okay, cool. What you said yes to. So we get going and then the month happens and then all of a sudden the results or what happened isn't aligned with what was expected. So all of a sudden the expectations weren't set. And now there's the blame game. And it's like the marketing agency could have done a better job at not using a bunch of jargon and you use it every day, but most people don't. And so I think there's a communication aspect from the service provider, the contractor, whatever it may be, to, does this make sense? Do you get that? There's some education, but also there's the taking the initiative to learn as well.
Right.
If you're receiving it, I don't know what that acronym means or what this means. Let me go research it. That way, 30 days down the road, we're not getting I thought you meant this and this. It just creates a not so fun experience if there's a disconnect between the communication.
And read your contracts.
This literally just came up not too long ago. Had a lawyer, and it's amazing how many people don't read contracts at all.
They don't. Yeah. They don't read the contract, and you're like, well, we agreed on this. Well, no. Well, it's right here.
It's right here. It's signed. I mean,
Right. Did you read it? Well, I signed it. Okay.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
it happens all the time. I have a second business, Clyn Technologies, and we're building apps and websites for we're really specifically helping minority communities. So
That is awesome.
Black, Hispanic, immigrant communities, because I feel like they're being left behind with technology,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to see how we can help them earn money in the booming technology market.
Oh yeah.
So even though that's a great cause, not everyone understands that.
Yep.
And just recently, I was like, okay, I'm so passionate, just started the work. And then it just became chaos. Like, oh no, I wish I signed a contract. Even though this is like pretty much just helping out, this is not how I wanted it to go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, contracts are important.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you had your app going, developer kind of bailed. It wasn't, a right fit.
Mhm.
You then head down, I'm going to learn this myself. You start
Mhm.
building, the pandemic happens.
Yes.
What has all happened this last year? I mean, since you started learning, where's the app come? Would love to kind of hear the journey through the pandemic and how
It's
you.
done.
So how long did that take?
We started in September, and then we had the MVP around I would say March, and then we realized, okay, we need to polish a few things, and then we finished it maybe like June, around June.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah.
So did you build the whole app, or did you get to where, hey, I've learned enough, let's bring on some help. I at least now know how to manage a developer.
Yes.
And
Yes.
So what has that all been like, going from I've been burned to I learned it to now let's bring in more help in? Because I think a lot of people would be, I am not bringing any help. I'm doing this myself.
Mhm.
But then it's tough to scale because you're limited by time. So what is that process like, going from being burned to trying to trust people again?
First, it felt fantastic. It's like my mind grew. It really felt like I was on another level. Even when talking to other people who are investing their time, not necessarily money, and they're in the tech world, we would have fantastic conversations, and they're like, okay, we know she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Most of the time in startups, if you are a tech startup, you have to have someone technical to be a co-founder. And so when people talk to me and they're like, you were a cleaner and now you're technical, you're doing both? Okay, we got something here.
Yeah.
But before it was just like, oh, great. Do you have a technical co-founder?
Mm-hmm.
No, we're doing contracting. Okay, let me know when it's done. So.
And why do you think that is? Because like, I mean, I understand you understand the tech a little bit more now. And do you think because you can make better business decisions now? Or because, I mean, do you really think that there is that big of a difference whether you had the tech background or you didn't? You knew there was a problem. You had a solution. Like, do you see that now you know a bit more on the tech side, that your idea is that much more valuable? You know what I mean?
Some investors don't care.
Gotcha.
They don't care as long as you have a solid technical team. But to get a solid technical team, you have to have someone who has enough authority who's technical as well. And I see it now because when I talk to investors, it's like a conversation. We just have a solid, good conversation, and they know exactly where we are. But before, it was just like, yeah, we're going to finish the app and then we're going to market. But I'm not talking about, yeah, we now have a beta. The beta is in Google Play and Apple Store. We're testing it out. We're doing some technical testing. This is a feature we're going to add. This is a language that we're using. And we got some credit from Microsoft because of the language we're using. So the way I talk to them, they have a very clear picture of where we are. And that's very important for anyone who'd like to invest time or money in it.
Well, I think also knowing if you're going to invest money into something, I mean, it's easier to hand money over whenever you have that. This is where we're at in the next 2 months. We're rolling this out. This is how we're going to survey it. That you have a plan of attack on how you're going to make the product better, which ultimately is going to bring them a return. But if it's, well, we're building the app and then we're going to market it. It's like,
Right.
well, I don't know if you understand it enough for me to
Right.
give you my money and
Yes.
me to make a return on my investment. And
And they
so,
always expect a challenge. So if you're like, everything seems kumbaya, they kind of like
you're
something's
hiding
off
something.
here. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
either hiding something or you don't know what's
Yeah.
coming. So just letting them know, like, okay, so here's where we are. The issue we're having right now is, I'm just gonna give an example. An example actually happened was subscription. So
Mhm.
Apple and Google said, if you're pushing any content and you're selling content through your app, you'll have a 15% fee of everything that's going through the app.
Lovely. Yeah.
You wouldn't know
Cost of doing,
that.
but yeah.
Right. And also the language we're using, they didn't have a solution for it. So we had to figure it out.
Oh man.
Yeah. They're like two siblings that are always just fighting, and we're in the middle, like, guys, we need to keep moving forward. So yeah.
Well, I've seen more and more people now decide to come out with one app over the other because of that. It's almost like two completely separate projects from Apple to Android, to where it's like now you need to double down on resources, the talent. It costs twice as much to come out on both. So it's like, what's the app that we come out with? Is it Apple first? Then we get that out there, get some revenue coming in, and then fund the Android build. What does that look like for you?
That wasn't such a big problem for us because we're using Xamarin. So Xamarin is like, for example, Apple and Android and everything that they share, every code that they share, and it would work fine. That's what Xamarin is.
Gotcha. It's almost a connector between the two languages. It's a translator between the two languages.
Exactly. So it's just, you create one app and it will work just fine in Android and just fine in Apple or iOS. But there's some tweaks that you have to do. It's not just like copy paste it. Yeah. It does save a lot of time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So from the app, you brought people on. It sounds like you're talking to investors. What's the current state, and what does the roadmap look like maybe in the next couple months?
So we brought in our first outside investor.
Congrats.
Woo-hoo! And a lot of the people who have been helping me, like Francine. I don't know if you know Francine Hathaway. She's like,
unless she was at your place a while back, whenever we.
Oh no, she's the fairy godmother of funding and startups.
Gotcha.
In Arizona.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, don't know her. Doesn't matter.
She's just fly somewhere and you were successful.
That's a good person to be around.
Yes. And people like her are saying, I think you're ready for funding. So we're just getting started.
Cool. And what are those conversations like? That's so many technology companies just try and build something to get to even that level of conversation. You've been through so much. What is it like, and how does it feel to finally be at that part where not only you think you're ready for it, but someone from the outside that is in investing says you're ready for it?
It's great. It's like wearing your scars so proudly, and they can see that. I think they absolutely love knowing that you've tried and you haven't given up. It shows consistency. Compared to like a new company, unless you have something that's absolutely groundbreaking, like new technology, it's very hard to just say, I built this and we started this company 3 months ago, we built this and give us funding. There are a lot of people doing that. So, yeah.
Cool. So, what does the future look like? Is you close to having funding come through? And I guess, what are you looking to do once the funding comes? Are you working on expanding features? Are you trying to get more activation? What does that look like?
A few things. So the first one is marketing. So we have runway to do marketing this year. And then the second part is training cleaners. So something that we've noticed is cleaners, they all have some kind of standard. It's not the same. So we've started training cleaners. And then we've also started equipping houses and cleaners. One thing that other competitors are doing is that they fully equip the cleaners with the broom and everything. Yeah. But even though your house looks clean, it's not really clean. You're transferring fungi, germs from one house to another. It just smells good.
Gotcha.
So instead of doing that, we're equipping the home. instead of the cleaner. So the cleaner
That is
travels
very
light.
interesting. So
Yeah.
okay, so then there's less inventory the cleaners have to hold.
Yes.
And then, dang, that's smart. There's no one else really running with that model.
No, I've not seen anyone run with that model. They always want to have their own equipment because not all houses have the same equipment.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, okay, we'll just buy our own, but it's not really the most hygiene way to go about it. Honestly, the way I came up with this is I was on the light rail getting out of a cleaning for a client.
Yeah.
And there was another cleaner in the light rail with a bucket and a mop. And I was like, that is so nasty.
Yeah.
Like,
when you really think about it.
Yeah. And for him to carry a mop and a broom everywhere, in the bus, in the light rail, man, it must be cumbersome. And that's probably all that he has.
And is he the one that typically has to pay for that or buy their supplies, or
they buy their own supplies?
And so are you buying the supplies for the home?
Yes.
So I mean, not only are you making it less expensive for a cleaner to come on and work with you because they don't have to buy their own stuff, but now you can promote the hygiene, the cleanliness, which that's what people are hiring cleaners for.
Yes.
They want clean. They don't want a mask of,
Yeah.
I mean, I can go take air freshener and spray it.
Right.
And it smells good, but
Right.
ultimately it's not clean. And so.
Exactly. Man, we can go in a rabbit hole for that. So I'm going to relax on that part.
No, I'd love to hear more. I'd love to hear more. 'Cause that's a very unique differentiation. One, to bring on talent, and two, to bring on more business. And that's a good combination whenever you have a big differentiator where, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Cleaner, you don't have to buy your own stuff. You don't have to haul it around with you. I mean, how many, have use public transportation versus have their own? And it's a lot to haul. So, I mean, you're making the cleaner's life much better. You're making, the homeowner's life much cleaner. So I'd love to hear more of that rabbit hole. Go down it.
have you read this book called The 1%?
I haven't read it, but I have heard about it.
You have to read it.
Okay.
You have to read it. So I just look at improving 1% in everything that's going around, all the gears and whatever that's moving around is just improved by 1%. So how can I improve how great the application works by 1%? How can I improve how the cleaner works by 1%? How can I improve how the client connects with the cleaner by 1%? Like, I always look at how can I improve everything just 1%, and it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So for cleaners, I saw another company, they just gave the cleaners like a shirt. And I'm like, okay, you were just trying to market yourself, dude. That's not really equipping them. So we were like, okay, let's get face covers that are clear. Let's get face masks. Let's get hand gloves. Let's get gloves for the house. So they're temporary gloves that they wear, and then they're cleaning gloves that are in the house. Let's get shoe covers. Let's get clothes that are water resistant.
Wow.
Small things like that make a huge difference.
Yeah. And it doesn't increase the overhead a ton to where now you're priced out of the market. You know what I mean? And it's again, if you can get it to where you're providing that, maybe eat a little bit on the margin, but now you have so much that you can go to market with to attract great talent and attract high paying customers, because you're bringing value that's why someone wants to invest anyway. I mean, that's amazing. How long has it been to kind of come up with this model? When did the epiphany happen?
I think it's in waves. Because sometimes like we would just completely be in a cave and like, okay, we got to get this done. And you shut the world out. Yeah. And then when you walk out, you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot more that we need to improve on. Yeah. So I still clean houses. I still go and say, hey, Chelsea, one of my clients, can I come clean your house so I can test this out? She's like, sure, no problem. Yeah. And it just helps me just still be in that cleaner's mindset to understand what the cleaners are going through. Most other companies, their executives don't clean. They've never cleaned. Yeah. So they don't know what the cleaners need. And if they bring them and say, okay, guys, what do you guys need? Everyone's going to be like, a lot. Yeah. So just being able to do it myself, just anytime that I can, at least once a month, helps me understand, okay, whoa, we can improve on this part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. I mean, you're doing all the right things, getting in the employee shoes, getting in the consumer shoes,
Yeah.
finding the problems. What can we do to solve these problems?
Yeah.
Not change the world overnight, but how can we make them a little bit better
Right.
incrementally each
Right.
day? And over the course of a year, we're gonna have a much better product, much
Exactly.
happier customers, much
Yeah.
happier employees, and
Yeah.
ultimately, it's gonna impact a lot more people in a
Yes.
positive way.
Yes, for sure.
How do you go about the one? I've heard that the improve 1% each day, and
Hmm.
I'm big on data and all that and quantifying it. So is it just a matter of let's map out all the different parts of my life and what's the one thing I'm gonna make better? Like, how do you quantify that 1% or check the box to know that I am improving XYZ 1% every day? You know what I mean?
I would say how I feel about it when it's
Mhm.
done, and also customers, what the customers are saying, how fast the work is being done. You know, sometimes you may have a new customer, they don't know that you've started from the trenches. So when you do something, it's like they really just expect it. And
Mhm.
that's great for sure. But reaching out to old customers and saying, hey, can we come over and do this? We've improved a few things. We want to see how it works, and we would love for you to just, give us
Yeah.
a chance.
Yeah.
And just getting that feedback is fantastic because they're like, oh, wow, they finished in, 4 hours instead of 5, or the house is so much cleaner. I love
Yeah.
it. Small things like that just make a huge difference.
Have you always just grown up asking why all the time? It seems like
I
you
am a
just
very
why
curious
why is
person.
that not working? How can we
Yeah.
make that like? It seems like you just no matter what it is, no matter how good it is, why is it good? Well, how can we make it better? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yes, I'm very curious. I'm very curious. I think curiosity is like a great talent or skill to have.
absolutely.
So great because you would not be afraid of anything.
Mm-hmm.
Really, you would not be afraid of anything. Um, Not to get into like deep stuff that much, but I feel like when I came to the U.S., a lot of people lead with fear because that's all that they've been fed in the news, whatever it is. Like when I got here, it was weird for someone. They like, whoa,
Yeah.
what's your accent? We got to get out of here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But for me, I was just curious. I'm like, your accent is different from the person that I met in Texas. Where are you from?
Yeah.
I just want to know where
Yeah.
they're from, who they are. It builds friendships, it builds relationships, and you just live a less stressful life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's one thing that I will say though is it's tough to being too curious. It's almost like your mind can go too far. So how do you figure out? There's a lot of curiosity that can move the business 2%. That can move the business 90%. How do you identify what curiosity to run after and what to? All right, mind, just keep that in the back of the mind. We'll get a little more curious 3 months down the road. You know what I mean? How do you prioritize where you're going and how you spend your time?
If I think about it, I would say how easy it is to implement it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. And the second one is 3 things: how important it is, how urgent it is, or is it important and urgent? So if I'm curious and say,
I like it.
I don't know, we were talking about glasses.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I'm coming to this podcast. I need green glasses. Is that really important and urgent? No, it's not. But I'm like, okay, we'll actually look great on camera. And people are going to be like, wow, everything is matching. How'd they do that? But it's not urgent.
Yeah.
What would be more urgent is maybe I should pick out the right clothes that I already have to wear to come here, something that's not contrasting or, that looks like it's flaying around, something like that. Yeah. So it's like, okay, if it's not urgent and important, it's the very last thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically taking a step back and here's all the things and just from a scale 1 to 10, how urgent, how important, how timely does this need to get done? And just, I think it's a matter of just taking a step back and looking at it.
Right. On a business side of it, I would say cost of implementing it, time. That's very important. So I would say, okay, so this is going to definitely like differentiate us from everyone else. But how long is it going to take? How many people we need? What kind of resources do we need? You got to have a very black and white perspective of it and then multiply that by 3.
Where does the 3 come from? Just because you know that whatever I'm thinking, I know it's going to be 3 times harder,
It's
longer.
going to be 3 times harder, 3 times the money, 3 times the resources, 3 times the energy, 3 times the stress, because no one has done this before, I'm sure. So you gotta multiply by 3.
There you go.
R.I.P. English.
Yeah, I like it because I think that happens far too often. People
Yeah.
think it's only going to cost this much. I
Yeah.
think it's only going to be this. You get into it and it's like, oh man,
Yes.
I didn't think of these 38 things that when I was accounting for it.
Right.
And so being mindful of that is smart.
It's very smart, yes.
So you've won a contest recently. It looks like you are in another one as well.
Yes.
Would love to hear all about it.
So I pitched in Founders Live. It was my second time pitching, and I won first place.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So what is the whole concept, and what was the prize that you won?
So it was you have 99 seconds to pitch.
Wow.
And you have a slide with it. And I got most of the votes. And what I won was being in Microsoft for Startups.
Nice.
We got Azure credits, Microsoft credits.
That's huge.
Yeah, PR consultation. What else did we win? It was like a list.
That is huge. I
Yes.
mean, that's awesome.
Yes. And then lastly, we qualified for the international competition or the global competition. So
that's what you're in now?
Yes.
Cool. And then what does that look like?
Well, right now everything is virtual, obviously because of the pandemic. So right now I'm leading to the first place. I'm now in first place. And then crushing it, man. Ooh. Okay. But yeah, it's gonna end on September 30th. So
cool.
I'm hoping that I come in first place, and then we do the global pitch. And yeah.
So how do you come in first? Is it just a group of judges that gets to pick? Is it there's a link and people can go hear your pitch and go vote and all that?
Yes, people can just go to the link and vote. It's literally everywhere. I posted it everywhere.
For those that aren't following you and all that, I mean, it's and want to check it out. I mean, how can they find the link?
So just go to my LinkedIn or Instagram, Diana Muturia. Last name is a mouthful. Diana Muturia, and just search it in my bio. It's there. And just, very first link.
That's awesome. I definitely gonna go vote. It's gonna be fun watching you win that. And I mean, it sounds like you already have a lot going on there, and with the app, what are the big things you're working on for you personally that you're trying to accomplish, but also for the business and maybe the next 6 months or so?
I'm looking forward to seeing my family.
How long has that been?
It's been 10 years.
Wow, 10 years, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when are you gonna go see them?
End of this year.
I bet that's gonna be amazing.
Yes. The last time they saw me, I was 18.
Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been? I mean, let alone, you come to a whole new country to, start something that, I mean, a lot of people want to start so they can, but, get defeated. And you've overcome so many different obstacles. I mean, how good is it going to feel to go back and show this is where I've come, this is what I've just won. And who knows, by that time you might win the international and then the global pitch like, there's a lot that your family has to be proud of. I mean, how does that feel to go back and kind of share the memories? And
my brother is definitely looking forward to it. Me and him I think we were siblings in multiple lives before. Seriously, like
Really?
We are so close to a point where I feel what he's feeling.
Wow.
Yes, there's a time I had a dream. He was just walking and just like tripped, and I call him like, "Everything okay?" And he's like, yeah, Melvin, his firstborn son, burnt himself. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. How the heck did how did that happen? But yeah, we're very close. He's looking forward to it because we spent literally every day together if we were not in school.
Wow.
So he's looking forward to it. The rest of my family, they don't really know what I'm doing.
Just doing a bunch of cool stuff. You're winning contests, building apps.
Right. They're like, Diana, how's what is it called? Clean, Mom. How long have you had it? 6 years. Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to know how you're doing. I won this. Oh, wow. Congrats. They have no clue what I'm doing. It just goes over their heads.
But I'm sure it's so fun to share it with them. I'm sure they're proud.
Yeah. I definitely have held off from going home because in our culture we have this thing where we don't want to come back empty-handed. So it's like a sign of failure. And so I kind of just held back for a long time, and now I can come home and say,
you're not empty-handed. That is for sure.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to just seeing their reaction and just helping them, and just, I provide for them, and I'm really proud of that. And just being able to come home now and spend some time with them is going to be a huge thing. I'm looking forward to it a lot.
I bet. There's going to be lots of smiles, lots of tears, lots of laughter, lots of everything.
Yes. I always picture just running towards them and just hugging them in the airport. I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, with all this, like I said, you've had so much adversity thrown your way. Mm-hmm. What keeps you going?
Family, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
They keep me going. I think also just the support I have around keeps me going. Like, everyone knows, like, I see something in Dustin. Like, we got to keep helping wherever we can. Mm-hmm. He got to keep going. I see he's determined. Like, we have to keep helping out whatever it is. Dustin, what do you need? Yeah. Oh, a haircut? Okay, you go into this podcast, let me make your hair.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, they know that there's something there. And it's like a part of me that doesn't want to disappoint them, because that's the best that they can do. Yeah. Knowing that I can go somewhere further. Yeah. And it's also going to help not just myself, but my family and the community around me.
It's amazing. I mean, you do have a great support group. I mean, even whenever we helped, record a few things and stuff, just every time I came around you and your friends and everyone was just so helpful, welcome. Yes. How can it's awesome to see. Lucky. And I got such a small little glimpse into it, and you got a lot of support, a lot of love going for you, which I think is why you're continuing to keep growing and growing no matter what life, no matter what curveballs get thrown your way.
Yeah, for sure. It's honestly, at the end of the day, it's not my success, it's everyone's.
Couldn't have said it better. With that being said, a lot of people are looking to dive into technology, create apps for their business.
Yes.
What's the one big piece of advice you'd have for any person looking to get into tech, or any business that goes, you know what? Building an app seems like it's not that hard, and I can do it. What's the biggest piece of advice you'd have for someone that's about to partake on diving into the app world?
Learn.
A lot.
Learn and learn a lot.
Have any good resources on where to learn?
I would say Galvanize is a good place to start. Galvanize, they have a JavaScript free class, and it's all online. You do it at your own pace. And JavaScript is like one of the oldest languages that you can do something with it now. So it will just help you understand the fundamentals. So when you pick something else that you really want to learn, you're like, I get that part. I understand what that is. But I would say is learning. Like, find your niche in technology, because technology is so broad. Like, when you say that, there's so much.
It's like saying marketing. I mean, marketing is so broad. There's broad. So many things that fit under that umbrella.
Yeah. I would just say, just pick something and learn it, and be good at it as much as you can, and always be around the technology community, because you cannot do it yourself. You're going to learn something from someone else, and that other person's going to learn something from you. Surprise, surprise, they're going to learn something from you, because everyone is just learning. Everyone is learning. No one is like completely stellar at what they do. Yeah. So just continue being around those people so you can learn from each other.
It's all about networking. Get around the people that you want to be like, that they want to be like you, and it's just being around like-minded people, and it goes a long way.
A long way.
This has been so good. It's been fun catching up. Awesome to hear, the pitch contest. Awesome to hear, you're in the running for the international side of it. Can't wait to watch you win it. Can't wait to continue watching your growth. If anyone's looking to, check out the app, get in contact with you, how can they find you, the app, just more information on everything you offer?
Just go to Clyn app and Cleaner app, and the links are there. Just hit me up, We'll put you in the application. You'll test it out. Let us know what you think.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dustin.